We're looking to install a frost plug block heater into a 1993 Pajero 2.5 liter. This is JR's garage. The first step to doing this repair or addition of the block heater is to remove the intercooler off the top of the engine area. I just set mine over to the side, which is pretty much leaning against the hood. To take it off, you have the 2 bolts at the back and 2 bolts at the front. You also have, if you look, I'll add some light to this. You have four connectors for electrical, and you have down here you have 2 hose connectors that you have to remove to move the intercooler aside. The next step of this install is to locate where you're going to put the block heater. Now in this particular engine we have a 5-speed standard transmission, so there's a little less bulk to worry about for getting your hands around. I believe with the automatic transmission you have to do things such as removing the starter motor and so on. With this one it's a little more straightforward. We're standing over on the left hand side of the engine, and I'll show you. We'll try to come down and take a closer look there, and I'll add some light. But yeah, you basically see the dipstick handle in white there, and as you go down lower you'll see a round spot, and that's right behind what's the dipstick tube there. So that's the frost plug that we have to reach into, and yeah, it is reachable from up top of the engine, and that's our strategy. We'll probably take off a few things, likely the dipstick, to reach in, but it's a fairly straightforward reach into to do this install. But that's ultimately what we have to do. But first we'll have to drain the engine. So just before we go ahead and drain the coolant out of the engine, another important thing for this this particular job is to take away the negative terminal off of each battery. I have a dual battery system on this, but if you have a single battery, just take off one of the terminals. The other thing you want to do is take the radiator cap off, as such. And you'll notice that that came off. So the next step for this to drain the engine is you have to find the drain plug. It's particularly hard to reach on this Mitsubishi because you have to reach around the exhaust. If I come back down, you can kind of see there's the oil pan right about there, and then going up just underneath the exhaust there's another frost plug for the cooling system, and there's the cooling system drain plug. Don't mistake it for the balancer shaft hole, which is off of that hump on the engine there. That bolt there will have oil that'll drain out rather than coolant. So we definitely want this one to come out. Some people, if they have really big hands, they'll prefer to remove a section of the exhaust as well to get in here. But I'm going to just use a 14mm ratcheting wrench or spanner if you like. So as you can see, we've got some coolant just kind of draining out now. It drained out quite quickly before. The one thing I'd also warn you to have is some protective gloves, because this is very corrosive materials, and any tools that get covered with coolant or what's left of the coolant in my engine, get those cleaned off as well right after you've finished pulling the plug on this, just because it'll corrode everything it touches. So yeah, we're having it drain out of the engine now. Our coolant is near completely drained. Okay, so we've removed the bolt right here. It's 12mm bolt to take out the dipstick tube. Now I've got it all loose here, but it normally takes a little bit of
of either a prying or a hammer. For what I used to get it out is I used a slide hammer with a an L-shaped connection like this, and if you use a slide hammer, 2 taps and it'll be right out. Yeah, you won't be able to pull it out with your hands though. So I've got the dipstick tube out now, as you can see, like there, and you'll notice at the edge of the dipstick tube there should be a gasket, but there doesn't appear to be one. I'll probably have to go underneath the engine and fish it out with something, maybe a small screwdriver or something like that. I'll probably also replace this gasket. I don't think it's very expensive, and I may have one around that already fits it. What I've chosen to do next is I've taken out the battery and the battery tray. For mine, I'm a dual battery setup, so I'm talking namely about the back battery more than the front one. But I took them both out, as you can kind of see. And my next step is I'm going to get the fuel filter out, and I'm actually going to change it at the same time. Now, the trick to getting this out is to first drain the fuel out of the fuel filter. It also makes it way less messy when you're taking the hoses off because they're depressurized and everything. So on the bottom, which I'll show after, there's a little drain spout that you can undo with your fingers. And on the top here, there's this bolt here that's designed to bleed the system. So if you undo that bolt at the top, let's say, I'd say half a turn to a full turn, and the bottom one, you either take it all the way out or have maybe 2 turns, you should be able to drain out all the diesel. And I've put a cup underneath to catch all the diesel. Maybe a good idea to have some rags there, but with the battery out of the way, it was pretty easy to get the cup underneath there. Okay, so we've removed the fuel filter, and it's really just 2 bolts there that hold it on. And if you look down there, there's 2 electrical connectors that you have to undo, as well as, of course, the fuel inlet and outlet tubes. And basically, when I was talking about earlier about draining out the fuel filter, if you look below, here's the fuel filter. There's a nice little plastic nozzle. You can actually even attach a hose to it and drain it right down below the Pajero there, but for me, I find it's easier to just stick a plastic cup on it. And as you can see, it's all removed. Now I have a spare fuel filter that I'm going to change as well. That's why I took it apart.